Okay, looks like we're up on Facebook and we are up on YouTube. And let's Facebook people so we can see. Hi, I'm Kino with StepWithKino.com. I'd like to welcome you to Afoqt Weekly. This is the place where you need to be if you are preparing for the Air Force Officer Qualification Test, better known as, or also known as the AFOQT. Every week we come here and we answer questions, and to be honest, this is really geared towards pilots or pilot applicants and navigator applicants and stuff like that. And I guess now the unmanned aerial vehicle people. So we're going to jump in. If you guys can hear this broadcast on YouTube, please hit the 1 for me on the chat. Had to adjust the volume there, but yeah, you're on YouTube and you can hear me okay. Please hit the chat. Hit one in the chat. Also check in. Let me know where you guys are from. Let's see what else we got here. All right, okay. Alrighty. Pudgy 9309. I don't believe I've ever seen your tag here on it, so welcome. Are you preparing for the AFOQT or what test prep? Because you could be preparing for ASVAB. Any live stream that I do, ASVAB is definitely welcome. ASVAB questions are welcome. Please hit 1 in the chat if you are on Facebook. Okay, so here we go. We will come back to, Ron, SW, ASVAB. We got an ASVAB, we have an aviation selection test battery, and all math questions are welcome on the AFOQT day. On the Navy day, all math mechanical is done, but on a particular day, we try to focus on things that are particular to the test, to the particular test that we're preparing for. And as you know, the format, we're going to go on with a little bit of aviation history, aeronautics, and then we'll go into questions. Okay, so let's go. Oh, first of all, I don't know if I said it, but I'm Kino with STEMWithKino.com. All right. So air superiority. Last week or the week before, or the last time we checked in with AFOQT Weekly, we talked about the Air Force, becoming the Air Force, separating from the Army Air Corps, and then becoming its own branch. I believe that was an area of like 1947, I want to say. All right. And one of the generals of the Air Force was saying, hey, what was that? I forget the little quote. I want to get it right. But it was something to the effect that, hey, the Air Force is on trial. Like, people are watching how we perform, and basically, if you follow the channel, you could see one of the K bases. The Korean bases were called K bases, and we have K1 through K57. There were Air Force bases that were set up, and we talked about a little bit of an airman's life on these bases, how they're extremely hot in the summertime and extremely cold in the wintertime. And then we went into the Air Force changing from Army green to Air Force blue. So there was like a transition because they were like, some were green, some were blue. And there was a pink and green kind of connotation to, or, the ranks change. There were more privates. It was like airmen first class. So we're going to talk about air superiority, which is the job of the Air Force. Okay. Lieutenant General E. George Stratemeyer, commander of the Far East Air Forces during the first year of the Korean War, said that as it happened, The air battle was short and sweet. Air supremacy over Korea was quickly established. So they went over there and they kicked butts. I am going to actually, there's a aircraft called the F-82G. Who's heard of that? The F-82G. All right. F-82 twin Mustang. Really? Okay. All right. All right. The F-82 is the North American twin Mustang. All right. So this is the G model. And I'm actually posting a picture of this. So this was one of the, well, they call it P, and I think the transitioning was P2 and F-82 as well. That letter stands for pursuit, a pursuit aircraft, which is like a fighter aircraft. You run around chasing stuff. I guess if you look into the word pursuit. All right, so we actually have a picture of these fighters. Wow, so you actually had. All right, okay. So in Korea, I'll just read through. The air superiority fight reflected the end of the propeller-driven fighters and of the jet supremacy of jet aircraft. At the beginning of the war, June 1950, the United States Air Force Far East Air Forces had the piston engine F-51D Mustang. So P-51, F-51, they were changing it. And the all-weather F-82 twin Mustang and the jet-propelled straight-wing F-80 Shooting Star. So we're going to actually look up these aircraft as well and get some specs on them and all that good stuff. But and what was the other one? It was the, let me get all these. The F-80 Shooting Star. I don't even think I've ever heard of that. Why am I doing all this typing? F-80 Shooting Star. Yeah, let Google do it. Wow. Now this during the Korean War, this aircraft was actually able to reach speeds of 600 miles per hour. It was introduced in 1945. Its first flight was January 8th, 1944, and it was produced by the Lockheed Corporation. Where are my icons? All right. So yeah, this is a pretty cool aircraft. So historically, if they go into any questions, these are some of the questions that would come into play for you guys. Also dropping this on the Facebook timeline. And if you want to follow this timeline, it is stemwithkino.com. All right, so a picture of the F-80 Shooting Star has just been displayed, and then we'll pick up this last aircraft, which the F-82 twin Mustang, that's one. The F-51D Mustang. I bet you this is the P-51 Mustang. But after defeating the North Korean Air Forces, there was a period of air supremacy until the MiG arrived. And the MiG, that is the Russian aircraft, the MiG-15, in November 1950. And actually, these planes were flown by Soviet pilots. The MiG-15 threatened to wrest control of the air away from the United Nations forces. It seriously outclassed the best United States Air Force fighter in Korea, the F-80C. Even so, F-80 pilots were able to turn inside of the MiG when attacked and scored some victories. The United States Air Force counter to the MiG threat was the swept wing. The F-86 Sabre jet fighter. All right, so they came in with the MiG-15s. They, of course, had the F-86 Sabre jet fighter. This F-86 entered combat in mid-December and quickly proved its worth. The MiG-15 versus the F-86 in Korea has long been a subject of comparison. While the MiG-15 enjoyed some performance advantages against early model F-86s, it also suffered serious vices that killed a number of its pilots. The F-86 was a better gun platform and could die faster. Ultimately, any MiG-15 performance advantages over the Sabre were more than offset by the superior training of American pilots. When the communists tried to challenge UN air superiority, they suffered heavy losses from United States Air Force Sabres almost every time. So the MiG-15, which is a Russian built, and it's funny because you think you're fighting the North Koreans, but they're actually Russian pilots and planes. That's funny. All right, so I would just want to actually, while I have all this dialogue here, I'm definitely gonna drop this in. And let's get this second piece. So, and the full excerpt will be copied and pasted on our Facebook page. Okay, so that is our United States Air Force history section. Now, we got the P-82 F-82 twin Mustang. It looks like a P-51 Mustang with just half of it. That's weird. All right. So, all right, guys. So I wanted to go into some more things, aviation related. All right. We're going to talk about turns, loads, and load factors. All right. So I ordered some miniature airplanes. So we're going to talk about turns, loads, and load factors. All right. Let's get this page up. Okay. So when an airplane is banked, and then when the airplane is banked, it's basically going into a turn. All right. Now, you have a portion of vertical lift that is actually reduced, and then you start to produce what we call a horizontal component of lift. So we're reducing the vertical component of lift, and we are increasing the horizontal component of lift. So your aircraft in straight and level flight, and this is the tail, this is the nose, and these are the wings. All right, you're going to have a certain vertical component of lift, and you'll have your gravity. All right, but when we bank this aircraft, that's our tail, and here's our wingspan, and there's the nose. What's going to happen is this vertical component of lift is going to be reduced. You're still going to have this, and you're going to have a horizontal component of lift. So imagine this airplane is making a left turn. It's banking, and it's going left. All right, so when this airplane is banked in a turn, a portion of the vertical lift is being developed, it's being diverted into what we call HCL, or horizontal component of lift. It is this sideward force that forces an airplane from straight and level flight and causes it to turn. The reduced vertical component of lift results in a loss of altitude. So when we bank the aircraft, what we're going to have to do is we're either going to have to pull back on the yoke, apply some back pressure, if I'm pointing this way, or I'm going to have to pull back on the control yoke to kind of pitch up a little bit to compensate for that reduced vertical lift. So that is one of the tendencies. If you just bank the aircraft, the nose is going to drop. The reason why is because the load there's an extra load that's being implied or added, if you will. In aerodynamics, load is the force that must be supported by an airplane's structure in flight. So let's say this aircraft is 1,000 pounds. When this thing is banked, we'll just say this thing is 1,200 pounds. And it's just a rough number, something for you guys to go by. So when we put this bank in, we're causing or imposing a load on the aircraft. Okay, imposed stress. So in aerodynamics, load is the imposed stress that must be supported by an airplane structure in flight. The loads imposed on the wings in flight are stated in terms of what we call load factor. So in straight level flight, we have 1G. I'm sitting down right now. There is 1 unit or 1G exerting itself on me. So say if I weighed 100 pounds, I'm 100 pounds. If I got myself into a 60-degree bank, I would be experiencing 2 gravitational units or 2 units of gravity, and I would be 200 pounds at that point. So this aircraft would go from 1,000 to 2,000 pounds. All right, so we're pulling gravity. That is what we say. Now, a force called centrifugal force is generated, which acts towards the outside of the turn. So this is actually, I'll put CP, centripetal, and on the outside, centrifugal force, CF. You'll feel some centrifugal force when you're like in roller coasters and stuff, or a merry-go-round. When I'm coming around, I'm spinning around, and my body wants to go towards you as I'm in that spin. All right, but centripetal force is acting inside because it's causing a turn, and centrifugal force. I had to close my eyes and think about the vectors for a minute. All right, so whenever the plane is flying in a curved path with a positive load, the load that the wings must support will be equal to the weight of the aircraft plus the load imposed by centrifugal force. Therefore, it can be said that turns increase load factor in an airplane. As the angle of banking a turn increases, the load factor increases. Now, I'm going to drop on the page a load factor chart that you guys can look at. And you can actually see the load factor chart. This load factor chart comes from the Federal Aviation Administration. It is a Federal Aviation Administration figure. And it comes from the pilot testing supplement. Thank you, boys and girls over at the Federal Aviation Administration, for keeping us safe and maintaining the highest levels of flying standards. All right. Okay, so what you will see is a load factor chart. Now, in this load factor chart, you will see angle degrees that represent angle of a bank, and you will see gravitational units. So you will see that the steeper you bank, the more units of gravity that you pull, and the heavier that the aircraft is, or the more load is being imposed on the aircraft. All right. Now, if we increase the load factor, it's going to cause the airplane to stall at a higher stall speed. Why does an airplane stall? Well, it stalls because it exceeds the critical angle of attack. Or we don't have enough airspeed going over the wing. So let's say this wing stalls at 65 knots. All right, and just think of this as miles per hour for right now, because I know a lot of people knots. What are knots? It's speed. All right, it's like a boat speed unit. Like in a car, statute miles, you run in miles per hour, so those are statute miles. In an airplane or a boat, it's nautical, so you have nautical miles. So knots per hour would be your speed. At any rate, this aircraft stalls at 65 knots. And what I mean by stall, for you guys that don't know, it doesn't, or the airflow, I'm trying to put this in layman terms, the airflow over the wing, over the top and the bottom, need to be flowing over this wing at 65 knots to get a lift action, lifting action from this wing. That's why this wing is built a certain way, because it is designed to produce lift. It is an airfoil. So we need at least 65 knots flowing over this wing. All right, so let's say if we got slow, 66 knots, and I hit 65 knots. The wing will not be supporting the aircraft, or the wings plural will not be supporting the weight of the aircraft. And it will just kind of, you'll lose control and it'll just stall. Now, most airplanes, if they're inherently stable, you get the airflow back, but you're going to have to add some power. All right. So why did I go here? Yeah. So if this is what the manufacturer says the aircraft stalls at 65 knots. Well, if we have an excessive load on the aircraft, extra weight, if we're banking it, if we're doing something with this plane that we shouldn't be doing, then it might possibly stall at 80 knots, which is bad. You don't want to stall at 80 knots. Okay, if it's advertised to stall at a certain speed, then that's what you want it stalling at. You don't want it stalling at a higher speed. I don't want to be looking to stall until I'm getting somewhere around 65 knots. What if I need to go into slow flight and do slow flight maneuvers? All right. What if there's a bunch of airplanes in the pattern? They'll be November 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Extend your downwind. You're number 5 for landing. Like, okay, I got to slow down because things are stacking up in the pattern. All right, before we land. So, load factor, turns. We talked about turns, loads, and we did talk about load factor. Okay, I want to talk about something else. What else did I want to talk about, guys? All right. So let's look at some potential questions you could get. All right. Because we did talk about, well, I think I talked about with the student, stability and positive and static stability. Okay. So let's look at a test, a question you could possibly get. All right. Boom. I am posting this online. Do I need all this extra stuff up? Because I cannot. You need, no, definitely not you. I should have. Sorry, guys. All right, so I'm posting a picture, and I see a question. The question is, and I'll just say America because I don't want to mess up the last name, but so what books in addition to your tutoring should we get to help our course? I pretty much give you everything you need. You will have your test prep book, and I'll tell you what to do with that, and then I will provide you guys with additional materials. I like the word materials. All right, back to the question. Here comes the question. All right. Things are just moving so slow today. All right. An airplane that is said to be inherently stable will A, be difficult to stall, B, require less effort to control, or C, not spin. Think about this. An airplane said to be inherently stable will, it'll require less effort to control. There's one thing when I do discovery flights, or did when I was actively a flight instructor, like full time. When I did a discovery flight, I would tell everybody on the discovery flight, and to this date, it has always been true. When they come up and they say, "Hey, yeah, I got a gift certificate for a discovery flight," and you walk around the airplane, you show them everything you're checking and stuff like that, and you guys go to the initial flight screening. This may be a part of your first. It might be your first time. Your instructor is going to walk around with you around the aircraft, and they're going to be like, "Okay, this is what we're checking out. We got a checklist. And we go line by line by line by line, like my word problems, right? Line by line, the diagram. Wonder where that came from. So you go line by line by line, and you hit everything on the checklist. You start in battery on, drop the flaps. Why are we dropping the flaps? So we can inspect them while they're in their extended position. We have more access and we can see things. So the instructor is going to be explaining things as he or she is walking around the aircraft, showing you all the safety sensitive items, what to check, reasons to check, and reasons why we're checking them. And, what their function is, and maybe talking about that and everything. So we started in the Cessna 172, we start in the cockpit, we come out to the back left side or like the 7 to 8 o'clock area of the aircraft, and you're looking at the rivets, the skin of the aircraft. You come back to the vertical and the horizontal stabilizer. You move into control surfaces. So you want these controls to be free and correct. You don't want anything blocking them and stuff. So, it would require less effort to control. That would be B. That would be the answer. An airplane said to be inherently stable will require less effort to control. So yeah, that's why I went to the discovery flight. All right. I went to the discovery flight because when I'll take off, and then after we get to safe enough altitude, I will say, okay, grab the control yoke. And I said, just grab it, and I want you to feel what I'm doing because it's dual control. So I'll pull back gently. I'm like, you don't need a whole lot of power to move this. You don't have to jockey the yoke like a fighter pilot. You can just add nice controls, apply your controls, release. The airplane will respond really, really nice. Especially when we get in a cruise flight. And then eventually, and this is the first flight, I swear, I'm sitting there in 10 minutes, I'm sitting there with my arms folded because I've already given them instructions what to do. Now, it will just be climbs, descents, and turns, but that gives them a feel. When they sit there like, oh my God, I'm flying. And that's the whole idea, to turn you on to it. Because when you get back down on the ground and you talk to your buddies, hey, Mom, Dad, I flew a plane today. Yeah, the instructor was sitting there with his arms folded. I was like, I had it. And he was telling me what to do, but, I was flying the plane. And it's very exciting. It's a milestone for some people. And it's something that you'll never forget. I'll never forget the first time I ever went flying. Captain Samuel Williamson, Civil Air Patrol. Shout out to you. And I would be remiss if I did not mention Captain Cynthia Hall, Captain Derek Henry, and Captain Jesse Bell. Now, their ranks have changed, but they all played a part in me actually, obtaining my private pilot certificate. At a very young age, I started working on it as early as 15 years old. And I soloed before I had a student pilot. I soloed before I had a driver's permit. Like, your learning permit when you go and drive and stuff like that. So I went hardcore. And shout out to my mom. I can't leave my mom like, boy. She had to give permission to do all this. You just can't be taking somebody's kid and throwing them in the airplane. So I'm like, oh, Captain Hall, Captain Henry, Captain Williamson. And my mom is like, what if I didn't let you go? So, all right. So to stay on topic, because y'all know how I do. I get to talk about my life experiences and stuff. So, yeah, the discovery flight is something that you will never forget. I was nervous. Ever since I was like 5, 6 years, airplanes. And then now I'm in the airplane. I was 14 or 15, something like that. That's why I tell you guys, the Civil Air Patrol is an awesome program. They have airplanes, they have instructors, and if you are 12, that is the minimum age you can join the Civil Air Patrol. And I'm telling you, to get exposed to airplanes, and you might not be flying right away, but you will be around the aviation environment, and you'll be around pilots. I'm very pro Civil Air Patrol. Yeah, I'm not even gonna. I'm about to be me. I'm not gonna do it. But yo, if you have young cousins, sisters, brothers, 12 years old, They might, and you think they might be interested in aviation, the Civil Air Patrol is the way to go. Yeah, so I'm 15, 14 and a half, 15, and Captain Williamson, I'm with him. He'd already like started my ground school and stuff, so I'm really responding to the ground school. I'm actually one of the first cadets to actually do the ground school. I was one of the first cadets, and to actually, take the test. So he really took an interest in me, and not all of them. Like when I talked about Captain Hall, Captain Henry, Captain Bell, and then Annie. I don't remember your last name, Annie. Annie was kind of like, she was there, but she really wasn't like an instructor or pilot. But she was just there for support, and she was an adult, and she kind of was like an auxiliary, kind of like and I don't mean to demean Annie. Annie really, she really helped out. But naturally, I'm gonna remember the pilots and and stuff. So, but yeah, I was nervous. I was nervous. I was shaking when the engine started. And I didn't let them see I was shaking, but my hand was kind of like. And after about 10 minutes, I settled down because now it was time to put up or shut up. I'd been talking about airplanes, this, airplanes, that. I'm at school. Yeah, I know. That's the F-16 Falcon, and that's the F-15 Eagle. And I can tell you about every airplane in the world. Now I'm in an airplane in a cockpit at the controls with an instructor. And everybody wants to be like, oh, does he have the right stuff? Does he have the right stuff? Meaning, do you pack the gear to be a pilot? So that's when I really had to, okay, yeah, you answering all the questions, raise your hand in ground school and stuff. But can you fly the plane? You can answer all the questions in the world. But if you can't fly the plane, you know, it's kind of okay, well, we'll let you teach ground school or something. I mean, there's a function for everybody. But I settled down and I just started following instructions and started doing my thing. You're pressed for time on a test. How do you go about questioning answer time? Yeah, just drop the question. In the event you're pressed for time. Oh, in the event you're pressed for time on the test. How do you go about guessing the answer if you don't have fully? Well, number one, um, I teach, and this is pretty much how this new format is going to be. It's going to be history, aeronautical, and then you guys just drop questions, and I'll stop and answer them as I go along. Bo. Yeah, drop that question, Bo, on the Skype, and I will do it. But in the meantime, I'm on Ron SW. What's up in the event you're pressed for time on the test? How do you go about guessing the answers if you don't have time to fully work out the problem? Well, I teach my clients in a lot of ways you don't even have to answer questions all the way based on the multiple choice answers. So it's a technique that I use. All right, just make sure I'm looking at other comments and stuff like that. So it's a technique I teach. There's a lot of techniques. There's so many ways to answer that question. There's so many, but one way, if you're pressed for time on the FOQT, it's on paper still. So you don't have to, like the other questions, answer one, then two, then three. Maybe you can scan. That's a good question. Maybe you can scan all the answers and not go to the next section yet, but you scan all the questions, I'm sorry, and just glance and see what's easy. And then, okay, I can knock this off real quick. Because you could glance at a question 5 seconds. And, okay, this will be easy to knock off. So give it a good scan. And then if you start, running into problems like, the questions get too hard or whatever, don't spend 5 minutes on the question. If you think 3 minutes is coming up and you don't have a full grip on it by 3 minutes, step away from it and come back to it. Because I promise you there's going to be other questions that you can knock off easily. So that is the answer to that question. And Bo, hopefully you sent that picture to me. All right. And okay. So here's a question, and I will just verbally answer it. I will answer it very slow. Okay. So I'm posting this on the Facebook page so you guys can actually see the question as I cover it. That's a cool thing about Facebook. I saw one of my fellow YouTubers, have a little thing where on YouTube you could actually drag the screen onto the thing, and I'm interested in that because I know my YouTubers are not getting the full effect. But the real thing was this was just supposed to be Facebook, because I have the ability to drop images and stuff like that on the timeline for you guys to see. Okay, so in the theater audience of 500 people, 80% were adults. How many children were in the audience? You just have to have rapid ways to attack these run SW. All right. In the theater, I just got a question. I always get distracted, right, guys? Okay, in the theater of an audience of 500 people, so there are 500 people, 80% were adults. How many children were in the audience? Okay, so my answers are 20, 50, 100, 125, and 140. Okay. If 80% of these people were adults, the children leave 20%. Now, there's a couple ways I could do this. I could multiply this by 0.2. All right. 5 times 2 is 10. And 20%. All right. So multiply that by 0.2. Or actually, I didn't even need to do that. 510, 0, and then come in one decimal place, 100. All right. I could have said, okay, well, if 20% of 500 is what we're looking for, if I want to know 10% of anything, the decimals right here in 500, move it over once. That's 10%. 50, double it, 100. So the answer is C. Easy. A, B, C, 100. So there's many rapid, really quick approaches to math. A lot of people would have been is over of and all everything like that. I would have nailed this in like 5 seconds. 50 people, slide a decimal over. 10% of the 500 people is 10%. Of 100 is 20%. I'm done with it. So that's why it's good to have an effective tutor to teach you these little rapid math techniques. You know what I'm saying? So you could just rip through what you can rip through instead of getting hung up. Because it's not that, oh, I'm dumb. You're dumb. No, you're not dumb. None of you are dumb. You're here at STEMwithKino.com, so you're not dumb. But no, I'm being silly. I had to stick my little plug in there. But the thing is this: you need somebody that is experienced in teaching people how to efficiently take tests. Doesn't mean if you had 3 hours to take this, okay, yeah, everybody would score high on this, but they put you under time, which means you're going to have to make decisions under pressure. And then you need to be able to function under pressure, and that's why you need a good tutor or trainer to put you under pressure. Teach you the materials, teach you the strategies, and then start simulation testing you. Like, okay, we're going to do this just like they would do you in Afoqt. And then what I find out is a lot of my clients, they'll be like, it was like no pressure. Because I hammer the hell out of my guys. Like, I'm real gentle at first because I'm like, okay, your speed is going to come. Don't worry about your speed because it'll be required later. But they speed up automatically. Nobody's ever gotten slower at math with me teaching them. I haven't seen it in over 10 years. So you guys think, oh, I'm going to read the book and I'm going to do great. That happens for some people, but not a lot of people. It just doesn't. If you don't know how to take tests, if you don't know how to manage your time, and if you don't have a coach, that's like if I was going to be a marathon runner, I hire a coach. I would not, I'm just going to run around the track every day. I hire a coach. So that coach could teach me about the nutrition and, and maybe help me know a little bit more about my body, and when I should probably kick it out, like downhill. I should really kick it out because I'm like, boom, I got gravity helping me. And then maybe when I'm going uphill, just bring it down to a steady pace. Don't try to murder that hill. Just kind of just stay at a slow pace. No, I know you want to speed up. I know you want to hurry up and get this over with. But just take your time, pace yourself. One foot in front of the other, just as you jog, and just pace it. But don't try to kill the hill, because then when you get to the top of the hill, boom, you burn out. You're like, you ran all the way up to the top of the hill to just go, I can't go no more, coach. Like, okay, so everybody needs a coach. A lot of people think I don't need no coach. But everybody needs a coach. Reading the Barron's aptitude, getting close to taking my test. I hope you're prepared. I really do. I hope you're prepared, Jacob. Most people are not. But I would at least take 5 to 10 hours out, let a guy look at me, and just be like, all right, you know what? You're going to do okay. Because you only get 2 times to take this test. 2 times. That's like 2 bullets in a gun and a big giant elephant is running at me. Boom! I fired the first one. I only have 1 more bullet left. Okay. But the thing is, Jacob, is what are you practicing? Are you practicing what's been published in a book? Where how many people can account for this in the room? You've taken a test before, and 80% of what that book was in that book was not on the test. 80% of that book was not on the test. I get this all the time. Yeah, man, I took the aviation select test back. I bought 3 books, man. 3 books. And I'm sorry, message again. And then I bought 3 books, man, and nothing in this book was on that test. I can't believe this. I get that all the time, So, just be careful. And if somebody said facts. Somebody right there, Ron SW, facts. But all the books, man, I had somebody that bought 7 books. He said, I took a year. I went through everything in the book. He was like, maybe only 15 and 20% of what I've read out of all 6, 7 of those books was on the test. And he still got a sucky score. So, Jacob, if you do get a bad score, come back and see me. You may be okay. I don't know. But, yeah, I would go see that coach first. Of course, I offer a prep course. You can reach me on Skype at kino.thomas. And lowercase letters on Skype. You need Skype. Where's Quanisha when you need her, man? Quanisha will be like, boom, there you go, on Skype. But no, I miss you, Quanisha. Yeah, that's my buddy. She passed her test a couple weeks ago for the OAR. Was it OAR? No, Aviation Selection Test Battery. Sorry. So, yeah, if you need to reach out to me, there I go. All right. If you're pressing time on the live stream. All right. So, yes, I do, to be honest. So, okay, that's Ron SW. Okay, I think this is Ron SW on Skype. Yeah, we'll figure that out. All right. Whew. Some people ask very special questions. Damn, that's good, Jacob. That's good. That's good. That's actually, you only have to do, there's a readiness test, a combat readiness test that the SEALs do. And you only have to break 50 straight push-ups. This is like before you go into. And well, I'm not. And let me wait. Let me wait. According to a video I saw, because they had a chart up and everything, and they had push-ups, pull-ups, and all this and everything like that. Because it was like, can a Navy sailor? No, it was a Marine Corps guy, and it was like, could he or she do this readiness test, which is something that you would have to do before you go, before they will even accept your application for SEALs, according to what I saw in the video. Because I know some real SEALs now, some real SEAls. For real now. And so now I'm like, you know what I mean? I don't want to say nothing, but man, that ain't in that readiness test. Next time I see him, feel like that is not in the readiness test, you know. You know, so according to what I saw in this video, let me be cool, like allegedly, use allegedly a lot, because you know, I know a real Navy SEAL now, like, which is kind of cool. But yeah, so you know, I know he was watching my video, be like, yeah, it's more than 50, you know, maybe. But according to this video I saw, they had a whole chart. It looked like it was legit. The dude was a Navy dude, and he wasn't a SEAL, but he did some type of air crew thing that I think SEALs undergo, whatever. So he was considering being a SEAL at one point, and I think he was saying that was the combat readiness test that he was going by. So, you know, but if you're cranking out 50, that's pretty good. Mm-mm-mm. You know, guys. All right, people. If you are my client, okay, unless you are asking questions about the particular live stream, um, please don't send me questions while I'm doing the live stream. You guys know I'm on Thursdays 5 p.m., Fridays 5 p.m., and then Saturdays at 2 p.m. Eastern time. So try to wait till do it before or after, because it's a little bit distracting when I'm trying to focus on Afoqt Weekly and you're like, oh, I didn't get this set of questions, and I never send questions unless I'm working with you directly. Okay, I'm finding out when I'm doing my testing, I'm going a lot faster than I should. That's good. That's a good sign. And then after you take the test, I would like to debrief with you, man. For real, Jacob. I would like to. Well, it depends, Deonis. It depends, and if you contact me on Skype, as I've indicated on the message board there, we can. I can explain to you like pricing and all that and everything. All right. So, yeah, we got like 4 minutes. This kind of went by quick, and that's good. I got John waiting for me. Okay. Chris, I'm about to send you a message. Kind of nervous. All right. So, guys, this is almost about to be the end of Afoqt Weekly. I'd like to thank everybody that showed up. Names that I had not seen or I'm not used to seeing Pledgy 9309. Thanks for checking in. Ron SW, I've seen you before. G Noel, don't remember seeing you, or I don't see you that often. Jacob Hill, you look like a newcomer. Welcome. Dionis De Leon. I hope I'm pronouncing that right, because my name is not like you'd see every day. Drew, good to see you again. Jacob, John, definitely. Let's see here. On the Facebook side of things, we got Bo, we got Alan. All right. And yeah, if you guys need to reach out to me, go ahead and do so via Skype. Now, I've changed my image on Skype when you search for me because there was so many, it is an F-18 flying over the water. And actually, if you look at my Facebook page, you'll see the F-18 that is exceeding Mach 1. And you can see the shock waves forming on the aircraft, aerodynamically speaking. And that's what you will see. So that's the Kino.Thomas that you would click on. Apparently, I guess I've had some accounts before, or there is another Kino Thomas in this planet, which, wow, that's unusual. It's only one me, though. Good, Drew. Check ride in 2 weeks. Which are you? Hey, Jim, how you doing? Yeah, so the person taking the check ride. Are you ready? Make sure you have a practical test standards guide, which is the PTS for whichever aircraft that you are, because you're on the hook. If you go to FAA, you are on the hook for knowing everything in that PTS. That practical test standards guide. And your flight maneuvers are just your flight maneuvers. I don't know which one. It's ACS now, not PTS now. That tells you how old I am. It's the same thing, though. Practical test standards are Airman Completion Standards. I bet you it is ACS. I bet you it's probably Airman Completions. Just like a CFI is not a CFI anymore. It's an authorized flight instructor now. Are you going to provide the formulas? Yeah, but I would not look for them. I would just learn the ones that I need to know before taking the test. You sitting there looking for formulas is wasting time. The clock is running out on you, and you want to be as efficient as you can on the test. 6 o'clock, John. Yeah, Airman certification. Yeah, Airman certification standards. Yeah. So yeah, it's the same thing. It's still a list of things that you need to know, and if you don't know, the designated examiner can be like, "What the?" But you don't, and they're really not that bad. If you really just go, because you know what, when you're a private pilot, and John, I'm coming. I'm gonna teach you a little lesson I learned from private pilot to airline transport pilot, multi-engine turbine man. Okay. The Airman Certification Standards, or what we used to call practical test standards back in the day. When I was a private pilot, or preparing for the private pilot, I was totally green. I didn't know what the hell PTS, like, what's that? They were there, but your instructor's more or less covering everything. It's like, no, we're not going to go over that. But it's important that you have that PTS or ACS because you know what you're responsible for. And when I became an instructor, that was the first thing I pulled out on a potential pilot app. Like, dude, you getting ready for your turn? Okay, you got to know all of this. Oh, what are you guys? No, you need to know all of this. Okay, because it covers everything you are responsible for, and it lets you and the designated examiner know that you can't pull anything outside of this. It's like a little booklet, like I guess it's like that. Drew could confirm that for me. But it's a booklet like about that. They may publish it bigger, or they may print out big versions of it. But the book used to be like this. You had a practical test standards, or ACS now, and then you had an oral exam guide, which addressed everything in the PTS. So if you had your questionnaire and then you had your PTS or ACS, I'm sorry, I've been over decades we've been calling it PTS. Now the FAA is like, hey, look, something new. Anyways, John, I'm coming. If you know each and everything on that practical test standards, there's nothing the designated examiner can be like, yo, we're going to do chandelles and instrument approaches. Like, dude, you can't do that. And if you do that, you can't fail me for it because it's not in the practical test standards. So, you know what? That is the Federal Aviation Administration's way of keeping everybody honest. Now, if you get nailed on something that's in that PTS, then that is grounds for disqualification. But I think most designated examiners or FAA guys will be okay. Look, you're a little nervous. You're a little nervous, and they'll be like, all right, look, all right, take a breath. We're gonna try this maneuver again. Now, if I mean, you know what, designated examiners, they kind of, just do what you're supposed to do. Don't try to impress them. This guy might have 10, 15,000 hours. You're not going to be like, oh, I'm private pilot Joe Blow, and I'm going to impress this dude who's got 15,000 flight hours. It's not going to happen. It's not. I remember when I meet guys, and they be like, hi, Kino, man. Hey, look, yeah, I want to work on my instrument rating. Man, I flew here, and I flew here, and I'm just like, okay, I listen, but we don't care. I'm sorry. It has nothing to do because now you tell me I'm trying to work on my instrument rating now. I'm trying to think about the path we're going to set on the road for you getting your instrument rating. And you're talking about all this stuff over here. I'm going to be like, okay, do you have your instrument, your commercial instrument manual? Do you have your instrument flying handbook? Do you have this? Do you have that? That's what I'm thinking about. All right, start going through these regulations. All right, last story. True story. I never forget, I had this guy, Discovery flight, hour 1. And I'm not talking bad about him, but it's all on you. You get a lot of people, their dad, their moms, their dads may fly airplanes, and they're like, oh yeah, my dad is a 737 captain, or my dad is in the United States, my dad flies F-22s. My dad flies F-14s or F-18s or whatever. It does not matter. It's good that you can have some home positive reinforcement. That's a great thing. But it doesn't mean anything as far as you're concerned. Because you're going to have to learn when your mom, your dad, your uncle, whoever in your family is a pilot. You're going to have to learn what they've learned and what they busted their butts and learned. So just because they're flying F-22s, they busted their butt to get to fly that piece of equipment or platform. You still have to hit the books. So it's no use to you telling a flight instructor what your dad or your mom or your uncle flew and stuff. It's okay. It's good to know that you have somebody in your background that you can be like, hey, Uncle Herman, yeah, man, could you go over me with weather, clouds? And your Uncle Herman will go, okay, yeah, okay. Well, the first one we're going to talk about is the fog or low clouds, and then the stratus clouds and stuff like that. So, yeah, as usual, I run over, and John is always so gracious with me because he's in here listening. That's why. And he likes listening to my stories, so, he gives me a little leeway. But guys, I thank each and every one of you guys for being here. I really mean that. Seriously, just the fact that you guys show up and every week, and even there's sometimes when I'm trying to test new things and I can't broadcast and I think I'm broadcasting and it's not broadcasting, and then one of my guys goes, Yakino, did you do the Afoqt Weekly last week? I don't see it. And because, I'm really trying to find new formats so I can have everybody enjoy the experience. So we can see and we can read together and we can see the images together. And we can go through the problems together and then come back to the board. So I am working on that because I do want this to be a very effective channel. If you are an ROTC cadet or if you're at one of the Air Force academies, one of the military academies, please tell a friend about this channel. Everybody needs to know about this if you guys are looking to be commissioned officers, and definitely if you want to be pilots. Even, the academies, warrant officers tell you recruiters and stuff like that. I ain't no crazy dude. I'm serious. No, man. There's another story. We'll hold it till next week. Like, you got all these stories. Hey, I'm old, man. I got lots of stories. I can't help it. It's just life. I've lived life. So, guys, thank you. Remember, tomorrow is the aviation selection test battery. Shout out to Darren. He passed the minimum score. Shout out to Matthew. He passed minimum score. And shout out to Steve O. Steve O. And shout out to those guys. So that's a report. 3 more. Our guys at STEMwithKeno.com, we don't worry about passing the test. We get it done. So if you want to be on the STEM with Keno team, holla at me, man. I said, holla at me, man.